All
Okay,
right.
well,
Hi, Kashawn.
hi.
So, so I just got through editing our last two podcasts, and in both of them, we were kind of low energy. We were talking about the first one, we were talking about rest and needing rest, but like rebelling against that, and then the last one we talked about actually taking the rest because and accepting that it was a necessary part of our lives and of what we wanted to get done, and not being able to do the productivity and the creativity and the fun stuff without having taken the rest. And
Right.
so now it's been 2 weeks since last we talked. We both had some time to rest. We have started new things. And then you just said something about doing this joyfully. And I think that that is a really good lead in
Yeah.
to the lens, because you said you wanted to talk about the lens today. So let's hear about like how can we go about living our life joyfully and following these new ideas you have about the lens.
Well, first of all, it isn't new. That's the thing. This isn't new. It's kind of like you. It's kind of like that new Bruno Mars, Lady Gaga joint that's going on right now. That new
Yes.
song. And
Okay.
how they're dressed up in kind of like an Opryland type outfits and everything. They look very 70s.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay. That is a recreation of, I believe, a Spanish or Mexican act.
Mm-hmm.
That they like these artists are still like active now, but this picture was taken in the 70s
Mm-hmm.
and they're recreating it because the aesthetic never dies. They look fantastic, right?
Yeah.
And I'll see if I can find and provide you the picture for the show notes so you can
Okay.
see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But that style, that look, that studio was not new, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just brought it in as a backdrop to their creative expression. And that's what the lens is. Living a life through empathy, truth, joy, kindness, and anti greed. Not only is it new, it isn't original, and it was one of the first things. If we wanted to make this a religious based TED talk or a seminary sermon, I would go all the way back to the fall of man and talk about how the original sin was greed and how neither Satan nor God lied and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But to keep it simple, the reason why we're in the situation we are is because greed was committed. Eve sat up there and reached and grasped for something that was not for hers, which is named knowledge, right? Adam was happy not knowing what he did not know. Eve was not, went and grabbed and reached for it, right? Reaching and grabbing things that are not ours for just the sake of having it, in disregard and disrespect for people's boundaries, because the Lord said, this one belongs to me,
Mm-hmm.
right? She stole. And Adam's sin was not taking personal responsibility. He saw that Eve ate the fruit. And instead of knocking her out or admonishing her, they hid. They employed shame. They employed guilt to soothe and resign their feelings of their greedy actions, I should say. When the Lord went and looked for them, they hid. They got the fig leaves, right? And the Lord's like, who told you were naked? Who told you that was a thing you had to be worried about, right? And when the Lord asked them, well, why did y'all do this? Well, the snake made me do it. And then Adam makes the funniest line in the Bible to be, this woman who you gave me. Bitch, what? He gonna blame God for it, right? And so then Adam and Eve are punished. Adam is afflicted with the constant urge to grab, the constant urge to toil and work to reach this thing that never satisfies him. You say, you will toil in the fields all your days, and the fruits of which will turn to ash in your mouth. You never get to feel joy, right? You never get to feel the joy of your hard work, right? And Eve, oddly enough, did not get that. Eve was not punished with lack of satisfaction in their work, right? She was cursed with the one thing within this situation, within this society that's budding out, that would have given her power and authority. They took away the two things that would give her power and authority. Number one, the ability to have lots of children because it became painful and became difficult to have children, one. And the second was that the center of our world now goes towards men. Your desire will be for your husband and he will dominate you. The Lord has lifted that from us. And that's part of the good news. That the Lord has lifted that from us. And we can see that by both worldwide, the recognition of how greed is just it's just being seen for what it is. Not necessarily vilified, but seen as the core and the key of why a lot of bad things are happening. And people are starting to look towards joy and community. All right. The DNC versus the RNC conventions are a big example of that. All right. A party whose leaders have helped us define greed, right?
Mhm.
Their convention was very stern and quiet, right? I mean, they were cheering, and I'm sure that a lot of folks were having a blast, and I really do hope they were. But the overall energy was just sterile
Mhm.
and just kind of, I don't know, just kind of mirthless, right? And then I jump on and I catch the DNCs, and full joy is on full display, right? It's amazing the difference. They even had a playlist of all when every state came up, there were different songs for it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's a playlist. I posted it on Facebook and I'll give you the link so you
Yeah,
can
I
take
was looking
advantage.
for it because I was watching I was watching clips and they were doing I was like Maryland through like the next four M states. And they were showing these different things. And the people in the comments were talking about how somebody had put there's a Spotify playlist, I guess, where you can listen to them all in order.
Yeah.
But they're all just like happy music. And then like one of them, I forget which state it was. Um, they had somebody like an actual somebody was performing and they went to give like how many votes they're giving, but then the guy was it was a singer and he just kept singing. I'm like, is he gonna do the whole song?
Yes. You mean
Like,
Little John?
yes, yes.
And then he went VP Kamala to walls. I was like, yes. To the window. To the wall. What? Drop down my
I'm like,
wall.
these people are having a good time. It is
Yes.
awesome.
Right? And I don't care who you are. If something's funny, you laugh. I don't care
Yeah.
who you, I mean, as long as it's not really like hurting somebody else or
Right.
disparaging somebody else. When something's funny, we all laugh, right? When all this music come up and a lot of that, and if you look down this list, is everything. There's Kool in the Gang. There's Garth Brooks. There's like Drop Dead Murphys and everything. I'm like, there's music when I know the song, but I don't like know the artist. But when it starts with like, hey, hey, I know
Right.
that, right?
Yeah.
Because joy is coming back in our lives. Because we're starting to pull away shame and we're starting to pull away guilt and we're starting to pull away greed and replace it with personal responsibility. And as we do this, joy comes in, and joy is sacred. And on a personal note, if you ever wondered how it is that I am the way that I am, I will tell you, because I look at the world through this lens. And I call it a lens because all it does is it adjusts your vision,
Mm.
right? If we both wear glasses, that means that if we took off our glasses and try to look at a certain something of a certain distance, close or far, we can't see it. And that's
Mhm.
how we've been looking through that's how we've been looking through life, especially when it comes to religion. Like a mirror darkly, right?
Mhm.
You're seeing and picking out some of the words, and you're getting a gist and a feel for it, but not really seeing it clearly. All of the lens is designed to do, is to bend the light in a certain way so your brain can identify it and see it. That's all it does. What you do with the information, how you react to the information, all of that, it's totally up to you. That's personal responsibility. What I'm doing is I'm handing folks a pair of cheaters and asking them to look at themselves first. Treat yourself with this, with empathy, with joy, with kindness, with truth, and with anti greed. And it must be all five. That's five. It must be all five.
Yeah.
And see how much kinder you are to yourself. See how your stress levels go down, and maybe how your depression alleviates a little. And this is not like big swathing changes. This is small wins. I like the idea that I've seen recently on TikTok about a dopamine menu. And it's just a bunch of different activities of certain lengths and in certain involvements that allows you to feel good, because the Lord wants us to feel good, to be joyful. Little things. And as you do more of them, you find that you want to do bigger things. And you do. You last a little bit longer. You feel a little bit better, to the point where you're doing this automatically. And then comes the challenge of when you get hit by life, using this to recover fast. Looking at the lens kind of changes the focus from, I don't want to get hit. I don't want this to hurt my brain.
Mhm.
Because if I hurt my brain, I don't know how I'm going to get out of it. And it changes it to, I have faith and confidence because of my consistent effort and consistently trying to find out who I am truthfully. That if something hits me, I can take the blow. I can spend the time to cry. I can spend the time to see where I went wrong, if I even went wrong. And if I didn't, what barriers and boundaries to place. And if I did, how to apologize truthfully without putting responsibility on anyone except for those it's supposed to be, including myself. Right?
Mhm.
That's really difficult, and that's the part that I'm still practicing. Right? This is not me sharing this because I have mastered the art of. No, this is me sharing this because I have been able to articulate it. I can actually say what it is now. And once I was able to articulate it, I went back through my life and I kind of found the places where this was starting to take shape, and looking at certain things through this lens. And I realized my life was kind of badass. It was rough. It was definitely blue collar, but it was good. And now that I am using it to look at my creative life, how I want to make my money, it's that along with therapy has really been helping me alleviate my depression. It's helped me get through some really dark times. And I get asked all the time, like, how is it that you're always like this? I'll be like, I'm just, and now I can really talk about it. And it's something where even if there's one small thing that you're looking at and was like, I'd like to feel better about that. Come on, look through the lens. Tell me what you see, right? There is no shame in wanting something that I say to be right, even though you don't like me, or even though the mass majority of it you do not agree with. There's no shame in taking the part that helps you.
Mm-hmm.
Just like there's no shame in admitting there's a part of your life you don't like and you want to change. All right. Even if that means you're going to be rejected, even if that means you will lose resources and stuff like that. There's no shame in that. There's no shame in wanting a small niche creative career that pays 60, 70,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's no shame in those things. There's no shame in saying, you know, I spent a lot of time being shitty to you because I thought, because me seeing myself as a good person was more important than how you feel. There's no shame in that. There will be pain in that, but there's no shame in it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you sit there and express that truthfully, it opens up a possibility for reconciliation. It opens up a possibility for vulnerability. It opens up opportunities to have real intimacy and true joy. And feel free to turn this into a drinking game because I'm going to be repeating a lot of things a lot of times. So that's what the lens is. It is a moral compass that is just placed right in front of your eyes so you can see certain things clearly. And for those of us who are in covenant with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who are Judeo Christians, this is a lens which I'm encouraging folks to reread the Bible. And the Lord is encouraging folks to reread the Bible through this lens and be honest with yourself about what you see there. Because there's a lot of stuff you're going to see there that is going to mess up your ego. Because it will mess up your reputation, your identity, where your place is in life because you work so hard and sacrifice so much. And there's no shame in saying I was wrong. I thought it was right. Turns out I was not right. And people did try to tell me, but I was so determined and I wanted this to be so right in my own personal way for so long. I felt I couldn't go back. Right? There's no shame in that. There's pain in that, but there's no shame in that. And the lens also helps you recover from that pain. So that's the break I'm taking right there with that. Because once again, we could go into a whole ass TED talk about this. But I guess the next thing I would want to do is kind of talk about the aspects individually. And I'm not going to go really in depth about it because I like to encourage people to kind of take a look and see what this means for them.
Mm-hmm.
But empathy is one thing that I start with because of the way my brain works. First, I'm neurodivergent. I
Mm-hmm.
have what is referred to as Asperger's.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Nazi name for it.
Yeah, I was going to say they don't use that anymore, do they?
Yeah, that's the Nazi name for it. So I'm just neurospicy. I'm kind of like a 3 on the neurospicy scale.
Yeah.
Um,
Is it autism spectrum now that they're calling it, or does it? Autism?
I think it's the autism spectrum. Yes, I believe
Okay.
so. Um, and I also have what's called antisocial personality disorder.
I could see where those two things would be related.
Mm-hmm. And what that means for me, what that shows for me is that I do not have innate empathy.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I have to make deliberate actions towards. I have to be deliberate with my empathy because I just do what I want to do otherwise, and that turns into chaos. So, what that means for me is that I am respectful of people's time. I am respectful of people's no. And that's a big one. Having a hard no and accepting a hard no is very big in this. So it's respecting people's time, respecting their autonomy, respecting their intelligence. And that part is really comes into play when I deal with children.
Mm.
Because children are smart. And also with folks who have developmental or mechanical differences
Mm-hmm.
that traditionally we want to emphasize them. Smart. Smart. Street smart. Discourse community smart. And like they're smart within, they know what to do within their communities. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Just just having that respect for intelligence and awareness. Right? Um, Acknowledgement of folks' feelings and positions on things. Right? I work in my spiritual work, I work with a lot of conservative white churches. Right? And it's easy for me to sit up there and roll in with a lot of righteous fury, but sometimes that's not what the job calls for. Sometimes the job is just shutting up and listening
Mm-hmm.
and kind of understanding why this belief protects me. Because a lot of reasons why we have the viewpoints that we have is to protect ourselves, our minds, our bodies, our incomes, our families. Right? So understanding what they're trying to protect by having this point of view gets you a whole lot further than trying to argue the point. Right? And giving folks space to be vulnerable. I mean, with judgment, but without shame and guilt.
Yeah.
There's a difference between the two.
No, yeah, there is.
Right? Has it does two things. It keeps the people who really don't need to be around you out, and it draws the people who you really should be around to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another hard part of adopting this because you find out who your friends are. You find out who got your back real quick, especially when you start setting and holding boundaries. Or you start demanding or giving out apologies, like sincere ones. I've lost more people to apologizing than I care to admit. I mean, just honestly,
Like they
apologizing.
don't accept your apology, or they don't.
It's a combination. They either don't
Okay.
accept it, but understand that this is genuine
Mm.
because whatever damage I did, they want to be mad about the loss of it.
Mm.
Some folks just want to be mad, and you got to give them that space. And some folks they don't know how to handle it, and some folks they really don't forgive me
Mm.
because they think it was a bridge too far, and I get that too. But because I'm not greedy, I don't search for an apology. Sorry, I do search for apologies, but I don't search for forgiveness. Like, you need
Mhm.
to forgive me. I apologize. Well, I
Mhm.
apologize. Why aren't you happy? That's
Mhm.
bullshit. You apologize and then you fuck off.
Mhm.
you just go that way, right? And let them
Mhm.
process it the way they need to process it. Right? And that's what empathy is. That's how I define empathy in this. There are people who actually feel empathy who could probably give better explanations, but let me give you the sociopath answer. And then there's truth. And truth is to fuck around and find out of the holy portion of the Holy Spirit, right? Truth don't give a fuck. Truth don't care. Truth is, it don't care about your reputation. It don't care about your ego. It doesn't care about anything but itself, for itself, to itself. And truth is a double-edged sword for a good reason, because it cuts fast and hard. But the thing that really shines to me about truth is looking at yourself,
Mhm.
and looking at yourself in terms of a few things. Number one, when the truth when you see or hear the truth and you get a violent reaction,
Mhm.
sit back and kind of ask yourself, when I heard this, I got angry. What was I afraid of losing in that moment?
Mhm.
Because whatever it is you're afraid of losing, it's probably safeguarding a trauma, which that trauma is safeguarding where your true joy lies.
Mhm.
Because that's what trauma is. It is a alert system to keep you away from the things that you really want to protect, which are your deepest joys.
Mhm.
And those things are usually under layers of shame and guilt. That's why we have guilty pleasures. That's why we sneak around and do things, right? That's why we love the things that are forbidden, right? Because there is a instinctual gut notion that whatever's behind there is really good, because we know in our brains that our best good, our highest joys are behind little pockets of trauma. And what the truth portion of the lens does is identifies the things we lost so that we may start picking away at the shame and guilt, picking away at the drama and trauma, and getting to that. Another thing it does is helps us identify where we're getting our dopamine from, our serotonin, all those feel good hormones. Where are we getting those from? Because our habits, the things that we do, the traditions that we have, are all designed at its core to make sure that we are constantly joyful. We're constantly feeling good. That's why feeling bad feels so good, right? That's why we sit up there and get lost in the things that we love doing. And that's why when we were kids, we loved doing stuff and then we got bullied and we put it away. Or we were doing something we love and then we were abused and we stopped doing that thing. Right? And we still craved that feeling, and we found it in other ways that were seemed safe, that we could protect ourselves. And picking away at those things will help you find where your joy really lies. And pulling through and removing that in very small things, like your wand. You're feeling guilty about it, right? Because no one to spend all the money and everything. Yes, but your husband understood that you really wanted one. And it would have been a small joy or a moderate joy or maybe a big joy, right?
Mhm.
Just to go and be that little girl in the Harry Potters, because when they came out, we were both grown. and just
Mhm.
be that little girl, like look through them and see what kind you want and take your time and just, seriously,
Yeah.
right? Because there's joy in that. Joy is sacred. Joy is how we serve God.
Mhm.
But will, a little bit of guilt and shame will knock out a lot of it at the root. So finding those places and nurturing them, put together a dopamine menu of the small things,
Mhm.
and also sit, meditate, journal about the things, about what you're feeling guilty about, what you're feeling shameful about, the things that you're craving and why you are craving this thing or that thing. And that's what truth does. Kindness. Let's do joy last. Kindness is kindness to yourself and others is that little bit of Orajel or antisemic before you stick that knife of truth in. It really, really is. Kindness is compassion, generosity, right? Support for, because you want to,
Mhm.
because it gives you joy to,
Mhm.
because it is more effective and works with the other portions of it. It doesn't do it. Kindness is what keeps the truth from doing damage it doesn't need to. Right? Now you hear about people being nice, and being nice is not the same thing as being kind. Being nice is lying to get along.
Mhm.
Nice is born through shame and guilt. Um, being in the South, and I know we're both kind of questionably in the South, but close enough to know that there is a respectability politic
Mhm.
that runs really deep in the South, right? And you have to present yourself a certain way in order to be accepted,
Mhm.
right? And so you have to sterilize your life, and that seeps into a lot of places, including and most prominently the church. No dancing, no short skirts, no pants for women. Why aren't you clean shaven? All those things, right?
Mhm.
Meant to give order so someone can control, right? Going back to the RNC and DNC conventions, there was strictness, there was order, it was control. It felt like church. It felt
Mhm.
like a church I don't want to go to,
Yeah.
right? Whereas the other one felt like a concert, right? That's also a
Mhm.
church I would not go to. But because let me tell you, there's experiences I don't like, and then there is an 8 a.m. Christian concert experience. And you know what? There are people who live for it. And I see the appeal if it was at 4 o'clock, but not at 8 a.m. Right? Kindness and associated with it, mildness, is learning how to exp- using what you know about a situation or about a person, empathy, and speaking the truth without doing damage. Because without kindness and without empathy, the truth is cruel. And sometimes you do have to be cruel to be kind. That is to say, you're going to have to tell a truth that will hurt.
Mhm.
You're going to have to tell a truth that will give somebody the fear of loss, or cause them loss, or cause them damage. And that's when truthful apology comes with that as well. But sometimes it just has to be done to yourself and to others. one truth that I had to face was that I was not built mentally and emotionally for writing the market.
Mhm.
I just wasn't. And we've had this conversation. That's what started our
Yeah.
friendship. And I was angry because I wanted more than anything else to do it because I thought that's what I needed to do to have a
Mhm.
creative life. Right. And I felt mad and I felt shame and I felt guilt. I'm like, why am I so lazy? And it's not. It's not that you're being lazy. It's not that you don't care. It's the fact that you don't like it. And doing something because you like it or not, doing something just for pleasure, just for
Mhm.
the joy of it, has been vilified. And it shouldn't be if done through the lens without shame and without guilt and without greed.
Mhm.
And I'm using without shame, guilt, and greed to replace in moderation or sin, because those have been used so much
Mhm.
it kind of loses its meaning. But taking out guilt, taking out shame, taking out greed is always going to be visceral, because those are the three legs on the stool of how a lot of our infrastructure is made. Religion, racism, sexism, the patriarchy, corporate America. They all have the same three legs. And so when we speak about those things or we look at those things, we kind of shudder. It's a visceral reaction. And kindness allows us to talk truthfully to ourselves and to others and get the pulling on that shame and guilt. And then there's joy. Joy is sacred. And God is love. And all love is joy in action. Truly. It is the pleasure that you have when you're doing good, honest work. And that's going to pull me back to my religion TED talk. And that in that we we are made in God's image. And God is a craftsman. He just is. And you can see that in everything we do. We always trying to build something, do something, make something, create something, right?
Mhm.
For what? That's the question. The answer to for what has changed. For what? For power, for reputation, for ego, for money, instead of for the joy of it. Right? Because we have been taught that doing something just for the joy of it isn't worth anything if it can't buy us nothing. But if you do have that joy, you find that you don't have to buy as much because it's not filling a hole, because there's no hole. Right? And so I love it how in the creation story brings up that the Lord made onyx and gold. And if you know anything about onyx and gold, that they are not utilitarian in any way, shape, or form. They're both too soft. They don't have a lot of structural integrity, but they are gorgeous, right? The creation story. We have a creation story because we're fascinated by how things are made, how things are built. How did we get here? Why are we here? Right? We want to know our function. We want to know what to do with this body we have. We want to know all those things are questions you ask when you're building shit, right? We are builders. And building and crafting has been seen by and large as lower class.
Mhm.
Work has been seen as something that is beneath us, right? But we are builders and we are crafters and we make things because the God who created us builds things and enjoys building things, right? And so the goal, as was laid out in the Bible, was returning us to the point where we were happy, being joyful, building and creating. Because every time they talk about paradise, talk about a garden, talk about vineyards, talking about buildings, always talking about building stuff, right? And then at the end of it, laying back and looking at your work, which is why rest is so important. And why also it's vilified because it feeds into greed, 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 gotta have, gotta have. And people feel guilty about resting
Mhm.
because they think, well, I'm not doing anything. Yeah, you are. You're serving yourself. You're taking care of yourself. You're taking care of your money maker by resting. And it is as important as working and playing. Right? So those four things by themselves, it really does add up to a badass life. It really, really, really does. But I'm not going to go into the religious thing because that's going to veer strong into the thing we talked about earlier. But without being anti greed, um, it just doesn't come together. You do fall into bouts of depression. You do find yourself in holes that you can't dig yourself out of. And what being anti greedy is telling yourself the truth in terms of what really gives you joy, right? Not what looks good, what sounds good, what people will accept you if you do or don't have, is what gives you joy.
Mhm.
And if you look through greed, you can do that without making victims. Because if you're not reaching and grabbing voraciously without thought of anybody's, um, without empathy, you're not stealing, you're not murdering, you're not raping, you're not abusing. Because all of those are functions as someone who has a craving to take something that's not theirs for the
Mhm.
simple joy of taking, the simple joy of having the control, right? When you look at this in anti-greed and know when enough is enough, you can set a boundary and say you can't cross it. And on the other side, you can accept a boundary. And it's like, okay, I see this as a no. Can we talk about why this is a no? Because I still want this thing.
Mhm.
And we agreed up until we came up to this thing. Is there something that you're good with that makes you feel safe, secure, seen, heard, and I can still get my thing? Right? That's why we were always told to confess our sins to one another. Let's talk
Mhm.
about this. Right? It allows us to see the truth of situations and place the accountability where it's supposed to be, ourselves or someone else. Like, for instance, I do not have a problem with prostitution. I don't have a problem with it. What I have a problem with is the shame and guilt associated with it. Because sex always sells, and there will always be buyers for it. But sometimes the buyers do not want to take responsibility. seek that because they don't want to take responsibility for what's going on in their lives.
Mhm.
They have taken so much and not taken accountability. That's the only thing they haven't taken is accountability, right?
Mhm.
And instead of improving the situation in their space, they just go out and get it somewhere else, right? And then come back and pretend nothing's happened, right? Taking personal responsibility allows you to recover when hits are made, also prevent them from happening, right? Taking personal responsibility allows you to accept the truths that you see and make the changes that are needed. And because you know you're working to your joy, because you know you're working on your problems, when people make accusations and everything, you can say, yeah, that's what you think, but this is what's good for me. For example, have some friends. I have several folks who are doing this actually, where husband and wife got kids, love them. Okay.
Mhm.
Wife stayed with the kids when they were younger, and now wants to maybe go back to school or get a job or pursue that thing. And the husband is like, does that mean I get to be a house husband? And they're, yeah. And they make a plan, right?
Mhm.
They make a plan. We're going to work this much, or we're going to save this much, or we're going to transition this way, or we're going to do that this way. And husband's excited because he gets to stay home with the kids because that's really what he wants. He wants to indoctrinate them in lovely things like video games and learning how to shoot and learning how to just doing stuff, teach them how to
Yeah.
fish, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And then the mom's all like, "Yeah, I get to work, and I want to work. I want to go out there and make a
Right.
living, right? I want to
Mhm.
do this thing." And then the boomers are like, y'all making so much money working together. Y'all both working. Why you would leave money on the table? Why you want to walk away from money? You're not walking away from money. You're walking towards your family.
Yeah.
And they have to go through that, but they know why we're doing this. All right. And they're excited about it. And they're stoked about it. Hey, Poe.
She just woke up for her nap.
Oh. And happy birthday, babies.
It's happy birthday, Papa.
Hey, mamas. How old is Poe?
She's 4.
Nice. Good square number.
Yeah. She's a good girl.
But they know this about them, so the comments, they sting, but they don't bite.
Mhm.
And all those 5 things together gives you a set of tools from which you can do a thing, removing shame and guilt and greed, that just makes the world around you more stable.
Mhm.
And so the question I ask everyone is, when you look at yourself through this lens, what do you want to make? Right? I'm like, when
Mhm.
you look at all these things and you know what you enjoy, what do you want to make?
Mhm.
And then when you go out and you look through the world, right, through this lens, what would you create?
Mhm.
And for me, because I look at the world through this lens, and because people keep asking me, why are you like the way you are in so many different ways? I get asked that question all the time in all different kinds of ways. I'm like, what do you have? I'm like, what is it about you? This is what it is about me.
Mhm.
And so I want to talk about that. But also, I want to make games. I like dice. I like cards. And I just like games and I want to make games. And I was going to do a Java Stack course
Mhm.
and I didn't get in because I really need to start from the beginning.
Mhm.
But I did get into the digital marketing certificate course that I wanted to get
Nice.
into. And I also signed up for an AI course
Interesting.
because I want to learn how to market my books in a way that I enjoy. And I think that I also like going to school. So
Mm-hmm.
taking a class, but then for the projects, I use my own live stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's excellent and brilliant, if I do say so myself.
I mean, if you're going to learn it anyway, you may as
Right.
well learn it on a thing that you're doing.
Right. If I'm learning it to do it on the thing, I might as well use the thing to learn on.
Right.
And then the second one, this one is crazy, but I love it. The AI. I want to train an AI to give me answers looking through the lens.
Hmm.
And I don't know if that technology is available to me. Is that just prompt engineering or something to do with the algorithm or something? But I want to start going into that because I really want to upload all my works into it
Mm-hmm.
and have them do things like make the articles for the SRD.
Yeah. Have you talked to Shell about AI stuff from Indie Author Magazine?
Yeah,
Shell Honecker?
yeah. I've talked to
Cause
Shell and I've talked to Elizabeth and West as well.
okay, cause Shell had a. It's you can make your own. Is it you make your own GPT or you make your own something? You feed it your book and then you can use it to um, you use the AI as your Bible, your show Bible,
Right.
your book Bible,
Yes.
and then yeah, because I was she had a whole lot of information, and then I got kind of lost because she was doing Zapier and she was using stuff to she was connecting she feeds your book into this AI, and then you can use the zaps to send things to it was basically all this stuff was bouncing around, and it was making all of her social media and all of her, and then it sets up a blog post, and then so you don't have to do any of it. It's all you write the initial thing, and then it separates it all and does all the other stuff.
That's what I'm planning on doing, but I want it to answer looking through the lens.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I put stuff in there, I'm going to keep on feeding it my work.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a point where I want it to make playbooks for me, right?
Okay.
Or I put in a scenario and it fleshes it out and suggests monsters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm also doing that in tandem with my drawing practice.
Mm-hmm.
So I can make my monsters and upload it and ask it to pop out monster stat blocks and stuff. So those are the two projects that I'm working on. And those, along with the dice and everything, just feels like I'm getting closer to the point of my central joy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what basically this podcast is just kind of talking about me and you doing that. Because life is going to be hard irregardless. As long as shame, guilt, and greed are here, life is going to be hard. But it is unholy, it is unbiblical, it is unscriptural, it is against God's law to just throw additional shit on your back because you feel like you need to show people you're doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
No, let people enjoy things. Let people enjoy things. Let us pray. Our Father. But that's the end of it. That's what the lens is. And that's what the lens is to me in a way that I can explain it in less than an hour. Barely.
I mean, you did pretty good. It was pretty close. Yeah, you did good.
Now I'm going to talk about this more because
Yeah.
that was another thing I did this week. I'm going to talk about what we did last week. We also talked about I am putting together a smaller monologue type 15-minute episode podcast called Sique's Beliefs Are Irrelevant, where I
Mhm.
talk more about the lens, talk about the religious and historical and cultural backdrop,
Okay.
because I do believe there's a spiritual war coming, and it will be cultural,
Okay.
because cultures are what shape governments,
Mhm.
as you can see in our climate. Um, it is the culture. And because we're in a culture and time where we are digitally global and we can talk to one another, right? I think that it's easier to comprehend and easier to implement, because there is always support out there,
Mhm.
right? So I'm doing that too, just to keep that knife sharp. This is fun. So what's on the docket? What are you planning on doing this week, Jess?
Okay,
Jen?
so my
Sorry. Called you by the wrong name, like to your face. Sorry, Jen.
what did you call me? I didn't even notice.
Jess.
Oh,
I'm like, what? Okay, I'm sorry. What were you
it's okay. I'm Jen. And anyway, but so my book 2, the arc went out,
gonna
the
do?
e-arc went out on Monday, and I got my paperback proof in the mail yesterday.
Put it in the center of the shot.
Hold on, I'm covering up my thing so I'm not staring at myself. I can't. There we go. Okay.
That is
um.
great.
So this is the first one,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the second one, and so they are the same size.
Oh, they look great.
And so this one's got like a black background, and this one's got a purple background.
Mm-hmm.
The third book is going to have a green background.
Oh.
But they've all got the same, like these gold stripe things, but then they have different plants.
Mm-hmm.
And then like what the different objects are different from each of them. And then on the back they're more the same. But this one has the coffee thing on the back because it didn't have one on the front.
Oh, so
Um,
nice.
and so they came out pretty good. I did forget to click something at some point when I was setting up the proof because oh, you can't even tell, but the proof is white paper and the old ones are cream.
Yeah.
So I want them to match. So I'm gonna have to go in and turn these cream because apparently I forgot to click that.
Right.
But
And it also looks less textbooky.
yeah, like well, yeah, because I think fiction is usually cream and nonfiction is usually white.
Yeah.
And I thought I had changed it, but apparently in one of the many times that I like re-uploaded stuff and I unclicked it or forgot to click it or something. So, because I pulled it out and I was like, those are not the same
Right.
color. um, but um, but yeah, so I started reading it yesterday, and I'm finding a couple of things that I want to change. It's just going to be little things at this point, but I am pretty excited. And then so they look good together. And then the one like recurring critique that I've gotten from reviewers on the first book is that I maybe could have edited it more by like it's too long and it's or there's parts of it that are kind of slow or whatever. So the new book, they will be happy to know, is 50 pages shorter.
Right. But also remember that Robert Jordan
Right.
never saw a side quest, a subplot,
Right,
or
right,
minor
right.
character he didn't love.
I know. Well, I have a tendency to be more interested in characters and their relationships than I am in the plot. So I have a lot of scenes where it's just like people talking to each other because I think they're funny. Um,
And remember, that's how Quentin Tarantino makes his money.
right.
Just so we clear, that's how Quentin Tarantino makes all his cash. And that's how Seinfeld made his money too.
Right, right.
So don't let that guilt think you. There are people who are letting folks just ramble on. Oh, there's somebody else. A filmmaker. His name both his initials are J. I forget who it is, but he's also big and just letting folks just talk.
It's just talking. It's a lot of talking.
Just
I'm
talk.
like, I don't know. They were having a good time.
Yeah. And I was
Yeah.
having fun listening to one of them.
But yeah. So I put some extra review copies out on Story Origin of the first book, so that people would have read it before they started reading the second one. And so I have gotten some new reviews on book one, and most of them are positive,
Mm-hmm.
but some of them are like, it got a little talky. I'm like, yeah, I know he does that. It's okay. I'm okay with
Because my people like to
it.
talk.
They like to talk. I don't know.
And I
They
find them
have things
interesting.
to say. I was like, that was so funny. That was such a good line. So I don't cut it. But anyway, so I did. That was one of the first comments I got back from the editor when I sent her the second one, was that this one was a lot more streamlined. I was like, she's like, this one, the first one was a little,
Yeah.
and we fixed it, so it wasn't by the time I published it. But like this one, it didn't need as much revision as the first one did.
Right.
So
Because you
um,
learned those little lessons.
I learned a lot on the first book. So hopefully I have learned some stuff on the second book, and the third one will be even, it'll get there. But yeah, so this week I'm going to go through and mark it all up, and then go in and make the changes. Um, it's I don't know. It's just very exciting to be able to hold it and like
Yeah.
touch it, and like
That never gets
I'm
old.
writing on the actual pages instead of sitting at my computer anymore, and I'm just like, it's so cool.
That
So
never gets
that's
old. That
that's
never
really,
gets old.
it's so fantastic. I love it. But yeah, so that's gonna be my major thing for this week, is I need to finish that and upload it. So it's launching on September 13th,
Mm-hmm.
and we're getting closer.
The same week this
Um,
launches.
yeah. Oh, I put in also in the back of the book. You'll be happy to know. I added at the end of the about the author page. You can't see it because it's all whatever. But
Yeah.
at the end of the about the author page, I added a call out to the podcast.
Yay. Thank you.
So it does say, catch their conversations on building the creative life now on Spotify. So if that's where you're going to put it, if that's not where you're going to
No,
put it,
that
I'm
is
going to be
exactly where it's at. That's
okay.
exactly where it's at. It's
Good.
nowhere else. It isn't even on Apple Podcasts. I really need to do that. That's part of what I'm doing this week. I'm setting up my digital suite to prepare for the digital marketing stuff. And the one thing I am doing is not moving, but also uploading the podcast on the Apple.
Okay.
Let me start making my list, because I always start talking and forget to make the list. So the first thing I'm doing is uploading to Apple. Uploading to Apple. And then the next thing I'm doing is going through my classes.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing I'm going to do is ink all the dice for the Kickstarter. Ink all the dice for the Kickstarter, and then some light prep for my other podcasts. Not a whole lot, but just making sure that stuff that I need there are in the places it needs to be. So while I'm uploading, building the creative life, I'm also building out a little bit for Sique's beliefs are irrelevant.
Oh, that'll be good.
So
it'll all be sort of set together.
And then I just got back pictures for the cards, my new manufacturer.
Yay.
All the cards are printed. Now they're being cut. All the boxes are printed. They have to be cut. Now everything has to be assembled.
Okay.
And I expect them to be shipped, hopefully by this time next week.
Okay.
And I'm doing my 10 pages a day. And
have you been keeping up with it? Is it going?
It's been more like some days and not others. But every time I sit down and do it, it is a good time and time not wasted.
Oh, good.
I'm still getting to the point where I'm doing it every day. And I think going to class every
Mm-hmm.
day will also help that
Mm-hmm.
because I have to sit down at my desk and do things. So
Yeah.
start
It'll
off,
get you in the mindset.
yeah, download all the information out my head through the 10 pages, have it clear so I can start doing stuff. It's so far it's a good time. We'll see how it
Mhm.
holds out.
Well, that's good.
You loving anything this week?
I'm loving a lot of stuff. So, I mean, well, you commented on one of my things. So I have somehow got onto the Broadway side of TikTok,
Love it.
and I don't know how I missed it originally, but like, so now I am just watching because I used to go to the theater all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and so now it's been long enough, and I've had kids and I've been busy and whatever. Um, that there's shows that I really wanted to see that I've never seen, and Hadestown is one of them.
Oh yeah.
And so I don't know how I got started on this, but I was watching some performance of Wait for Me of the reprise, and it's just the part where Eurydice jumps on the turntable and then she does this, and it's so dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are like 15,000 versions of it
Mm-hmm.
where it's like a different actress and whatever. And then there's a whole bunch of where they're like they've edited them all together so you can see all the different actresses that have done it. There's one where I think she's Korean, and she sings the whole thing, um, not in English. And then the last line, she says, "I'm coming" in English,
Right.
and it's so powerful because like by that point I've listened to the song so many times that even though she's not singing in English, I know what she's saying.
Right.
But then she's giving it her all, and she's belting it, and then she gets to the very last thing, and she's like, "I'm coming," and I'm like, "It's English." I was like, "Wow, it was really cool." But so I was watching those, and then there's this girl that I should have written down what her name is, but she has a walking pad, and she has several of these different videos where they're different Broadway songs.
Mm-hmm.
And but her hook on her videos is always like, she bought the pad for exercise, but this is what she really does with it. And she's walking out stuff from Hamilton or from whatever. And so she did Hadestown, and she's doing this same scene that I had been watching over and over again. And somebody in the comments was like, "Okay, but you have to do the jump. You didn't do the jump." And so then she posted a new video where she's standing behind the walking pad, and then she jumps on it and starts going. And it's just like, I feel so bad for your downstairs neighbors. Um, but I was like, I want one now. I want one so bad.
Oh my god. I love my walking pad. I love my walking pad.
Right?
Yes, I do. And I do the same thing. Actually, I don't do that. I have you ever seen Blades of Thunder?
Yes.
And so when Will Ferrell's like, "My lovely lady loves," I love that. I just love doing shit like that. Just like, damn it. Oh, when the whole Kendrick Lamar Drake thing went out.
Yeah.
Oh my god. This walking pad was just like, oh, got a lot of exercise.
Yeah. So I think, and then so she made this girl made a Spotify playlist that's called "Walk Like You're on Broadway," and it's just like all these songs. And I went in and I looked at it, and a bunch of them, it's the reason that they work so well is that the choreography for those is the people are walking while they're like on the stage, so you can like pretend like you're in the show and you're doing all this stuff that they're doing while they're like. Oh, that's fantastic. I might just like put in my AirPods and go down the path in my neighborhood and just be like, I don't care if anybody sees me.
Right.
Everybody's at work during the day anyway. So the dog really wants to go for it. But, so that's gonna be my new like I'm gonna get some exercise by like walking with Broadway music in the background. So that was pretty cool. And the other thing I wanted to tell you about, I don't know if you saw Deborah Ann Wall. Do you know who she is?
No.
So Deborah Ann Wall is an actress. She was in True Blood, and then she was of Jessica. She's of the baby vampire.
Yes.
But so then she's more well known now because she's on the Daredevil TV show.
Yes.
So she went on John Barenthal's his podcast.
Yeah.
Punisher,
did
right? You see it? Yeah, he's the Punisher.
Yeah.
So he's got, it's called like The Right Ones or something.
Mm-hmm.
So he posted, his podcast is posted on YouTube, but there's been clips going around on TikTok of just this one section where they start talking about D&D.
Yes.
Because she apparently has been into D&D from like way back.
Right.
And is so good at it and is so into it now that that's her side gig, is that she DMs for people. Like they pay her to come DM her their stuff. And so he's never played it and he doesn't know how it works. And so she's trying to explain what D&D is to him. And she explains it a little bit and he asks a couple of questions and finally it lasts like 5 or so minutes and then she's just like, well, do you want to play? And he goes, do you think, I don't know, do you think I could? Maybe sometime we'll get together. And she's like, no, right now. And he's like, what? And she's like, do you want to play right now? And he's like, okay.
Yes.
And he totally yes ands everything she does after that because he's an actor. So she's like, okay, so you're in the woods and you've got a sword strapped to your back and you've got a shield and you're walking through the dark and there's this noise in the background and you're not really sure what it is. And then the trees clear and there's this animal that comes in and it's like a bear, but it's got an owl face. What do you do? And he's like, and she just like jumps him into this scene. And so he's like, I don't know, have I ever seen an owl bear before? Or do I know what one is? And she's like, well, then you roll history. And so he's like, he doesn't know what that is. And so she explains what history means and what it would be to roll for it. And then she makes up a number and she's like, okay, let's say you rolled a 13 and this is a this and this. So basically, yeah, you kind of know what one is. And she's like, so what do you do? And he goes, I say, hey bear, what are you, he's whatever, he made up some kind of dialogue and she starts laughing and she's like, you talk to it? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, okay, cool. And like, and so they played for like 5 or 10 minutes where like she just keeps giving him stuff to do and then making up dice. And it's so funny and it's so like, it's like the best introduction to what is D&D. And so I have seen that same clip played by so many different people because people keep picking it up because they're just amazed by how quickly she got him into the game.
Right.
And they're like, this is what I'm going to do from now on. All these people are like, anytime somebody asks me for what D&D is, I'm not going to like explain the background. I'm not going to give them the books. I'm not going to be like, let's get together in 2 weeks. I'm just going to do what she did and just like put them straight in the game. That's the best way.
I got dice.
You want to play? Right. It was awesome. Are those my dice?
Huh?
They're green. Are those my dice?
Those are not. I was about to say they're right here. No, they're in my workroom.
Okay.
But this is a set.
Those are pretty.
These are so pretty, and they're made by a dice maker here in Austin.
Okay.
And I will give you their name as soon as I find their stuff. I will send that to you as well.
Okay. But yeah, so I'll if you haven't seen one of these clips, I will send you that too because the whole interview is really good. She gets really vulnerable. She talks about how she was bullied as a kid and stuff. But this like section where she's teaching him D&D it's fantastic.
Right. Oh my God, it sounds fantastic. And I'm gonna have to look that up. I really, really, really do. Hold on, let me get out of here. Oh. I'm trying to see what else. I didn't talk about what I was liking this week.
What are you excited about?
What I'm really I just lost my shit. Hold on. I was trying to send that thing to you and I lost it. Oh, this computer. One of the great things I found out is the computer I'm working on has 8 terabytes of storage. I didn't. It was a gift, and so I never looked that up. I'm trying to think. There's just what am I loving? I absolutely love the DNC roll call playlist. That was a really big thing. Oh, there was something else I wanted to talk about. There was something I particularly wanted to bring up here. Oh, yes. Because I'm going to be doing a lot of classes online, I've
Hmm.
decided to pick up the habit I had in college of playing movies in the background.
Okay.
Um, and they have to be specifically for playing in the background because it has to be interesting enough for it to be pleasurable, but not so interesting that I stop my work.
Yeah.
And so I picked my first movie this week, and it's Band of Robbers. It's a 2015 comedy heist film.
Okay.
And just so you know, I am a sucker for a good heist film. So it is a modern retelling of Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn,
Okay.
set in like New Mexico or Arizona, and it's a robbery, and it's fun, and it's kind of stupid, and it's just as much fun as it needs to be, no more, no less, and I'm loving it.
Okay.
So
And you're gonna have that going on while you're in class.
yes, I'm gonna have that on while I'm in class or when I'm writing my 10 pages or what have you.
Oh, that's funny. That's what Dale Mayer used to do. I think she quit doing it. She's doing puzzles now. But when I she's one of the I interviewed for the magazine, and she was saying that when she was writing, um but she does dictation, so she can't have the sound on.
Right.
But so she was listening to Moana, or
Hmm.
she was watching Moana while she was dictating her book, and she finishes dictating like ridiculously quickly because like she sets aside a certain whatever, and then she goes and she watches Moana like because she knows it well enough that she can pick it up at any point and it doesn't matter. It's just going on. I was like, oh, that's fascinating that you could, because I would get distracted and end up watching Moana instead of doing whatever I was supposed to do.
Right. And then I would cry.
Yeah.
And that is um that's one of the things that keeps a lot of movies that I love, um from being on this list, because I will absolutely stop what I'm doing.
No.
And I can't do that. Oh, it's great. I'm sorry, I'm looking for this Bruno, the side by side
Oh,
comparison.
sorry.
Sorry.
No, I was trying to find you the Deborah Ann Wall thing, and I found it, but it made noise.
Oh. I'm going to find that side by side picture, um, because it's all over the place on TikTok, but I do not see it on Google yet.
Okay.
So I'm going to send that, because this is so that song and everything about it is just so excellent. And what kills me, oh, there it goes. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Um, it's just absolutely wonderful. And I really hope they do this. The song was made for the Joker sequel,
Oh, okay.
right? It's called Die
Mm-hmm.
with a Smile.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping that they have Harley Quinn closer to what the way they have her for the Caped Crusader series.
Okay.
Oh, and that's I think the one big thing is they rebooted the Batman. Yeah, they rebooted the Batman the animated series, and it's called Batman
Mm-hmm.
Caped Crusaders on Prime. And Penguin is a female, and she's amazing and
Mm-hmm.
voiced by Minnie Driver.
By Minnie Driver.
Yes,
Oh my
she's
gosh.
wonderful. But Harley Quinn isn't some psychiatrist with daddy issues.
Yeah.
She is a villain in her own right. She is
Okay.
crafty and effective in her own right. Right.
Okay.
And she could be ever just as much as a villain as Joker could been before she even met him. And I'm hoping that's what they're doing with Lady Gaga, because she's always played those
Mhm.
very smart, intelligent, bold, strong, driven characters who are
Mhm.
just batshit crazy
Mhm.
in the best ways possible. She carries her insanity with such an elegance, right?
Yeah.
And a sense of style. And I'm hoping she carries that over to this movie without being a victim of domestic abuse.
Yeah.
Because in the comic books, Joker did everything from beat her to assault her to set her off in a rocket to die because he realized he was in love with her. That's
Yeah.
and that's the only way they had Harley Quinn, and that's why I didn't like the character at all.
Well, I mean, it was never a healthy relationship.
It was never a healthy relationship. But then what they started to do was to make it healthy and make it so she broke up with him. She's trying to figure out who she is, and she became an anti-hero. And she's
Mhm.
fun now.
Okay.
I love Harley Quinn now because she got her shit together. Okay, now we're at an hour and a half. I knew we weren't gonna do this for less than an hour and a half.
It's all right. There's some pauses in there. I could do. I'll figure something out.
Okay. Thanks for this because,
Yeah.
like I keep on saying when I was explaining it, your support has been invaluable. I mean, it's a high value. I just can't put a cap on
Right, right. You are most welcome. I don't know. I can listen to you talk all day, and I think we have evidence of that.
it. Just make sure that we talk about something. That means that you're going to have to, well, I don't know if you have to, but know that you can
Yeah.
dedicate an episode to something you just really want to talk about.
Okay.
Because this is about passion, this is about joy.
Hmm.
And I want to hear more of it because this is what this is about. Yeah?
Yeah, yeah. I think I was going through. I was really struggling like the last couple of weeks because I had got burned out and I was in denial about being burned out.
Mm-hmm.
And but like I'm coming out of being sick. I'm starting to feel better. The weather's been really nice outside. I went up and spent this morning cleaning out my. We have a screened-in porch upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't been in it since March because pollen is so bad.
Right.
And I get real scared of going in there and clean because I just know how big of an amount of work it's going to be to clear out the pollen that I
Mm-hmm.
just don't do it. But it's been so nice outside. I'm like, I really want to paint and I want to like sit outside and and I can't do it because the space is covered in like 4 inches of pollen. So I went out this morning with a leaf blower like, blew most of it out, and then I took a push broom and knocked as much out, and then I took a regular broom, and then I took a Swiffer, and then I started doing a wet Swiffer, and then I ran out of time and also Swiffer solution.
Right.
So I was like, I'm gonna have to get just like an old mop and really just like mop it out with just water because it's still like the pollen is so fine that like the broom won't get it anymore.
Right.
And I know that if I go out there and I sit down, it'll be in the air and it'll,
Get
whatever.
in your clothes and all that.
Yeah. Plus I have we first moved into this house. It's almost 4 years now. We bought these huge canvases that I was going to paint and we were going to use them to decorate the walls in a couple of different rooms instead of painting the walls.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going to do. So I started the first one and it's a blow up of my bouquet from our wedding. But it's huge. It's like it's like 12 feet by it's gigantic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I was working on it in the screen porch because I wanted the ventilation and whatever. But then the weather got bad, so I brought it inside and I never got around to finishing it because it was too hot or it was raining or whatever. But so I'm like, it's gonna be real nice for a week and then It might be real nice for 2 weeks if I get lucky. So I need to get the room cleared out because I can't paint in there where the pollen is in the air because it'll get stuck in the paint and they'll ruin the picture. So I got to clear it out and then paint as fast as I possibly can. Because I have 3 of them and I want to get all of them done this year. This is the year where they're done and we can hang them on the walls and just be like, look, I did the art.
Yes, you did. All right, then. I want to hear about that and all the other stuff, but I need to go and rest up because I've got a major religion to declare dead.
Yeah, that'll be a lot for you. My kids are gonna get off the bus pretty soon too, so I gotta take off. But yeah, good luck with your revolution.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.